Hi, and welcome to Classic Advice. My name is Scarlett Classic, your host. On this podcast, I share stories from my life to draw lessons from them to inspire us towards self-improvement for a happier, more fulfilling life. Have you ever started something new and were really excited about it? But then over time, perhaps the rose-colored glasses come off, or it seems to be more work than you originally thought it would be. And then your mind starts to wander and you want to quit. You don't want to do it anymore. I know I've talked about this briefly before in a previous episode when I was thinking about quitting the podcast, but yeah, I'm still here, so obviously I didn't. But something came up recently in my life in regards to parenting one of my kids. So I thought, you know what, this is a great thing to share with you guys. Levi is 12 years old, and he came to me. He said he wanted to be just more involved in sports in general, and I said, sure, when your school starts doing stuff, give her, like, your... So they started doing, he came home with a form to do badminton. So he signed up for it, and I thought it was going really great. And then he came to me one day. Well, actually, his teacher called me and said, hey, Levi said he quit. And I was like, well, that's news to me. Let me talk to him when he gets home. And yeah, he decided he didn't want to do it. And he only had just a little bit of time left to committed to badminton, and then it was going to be over. So anyways, we had a conversation, and I said, look, I'm not going to force you to do something that you really don't want to do, but you were the one that came to me and said that this was something that you really wanted. And he was partners with someone. So I was explaining to him that he's not just quitting on himself, essentially, but he's quitting on his teammate. Now she can't continue doing it because he decided he just doesn't want to anymore. And part of it, I think, was because he was getting disappointed in the fact that they weren't winning many games, and he was getting discouraged like we all do, right? Anyways, fast forward, he decided that he was going to continue, and he went to his final, I drove him to his final tournament. Now, before I tell you how that ended, when I sat down with my 12-year-old and talked to him about it, I gave him examples from my own life that I wanted to share with you. So, for example, when I was growing up as a kid, my parents put me in figure skating. And I did it for a while, and then I decided I didn't like it anymore, so they let me drop out. And I was really, really young. Like, I barely even remember going. I have, like, one memory of kind of figure skating in a class, but I was quite young. And then when I was older, they put me in piano lessons, and I didn't really want to continue that either, but I do remember going. I remember taking the lessons, and it wasn't so much that I didn't like the piano. It was, I think, I just wasn't always in the mood to practice. I wasn't always in the mood to put in the work. So eventually, they let me quit that too. And then when I was in high school, I went to my parents and said, hey, I want to learn how to play guitar. And they were like, well, we tried putting you in figure skating. We tried putting you in piano, and you just quit on us. We're not paying for lessons again just to have you quit on us. I think that their response was the correct one. Because had they said yes and just put me in the lessons anyway, I might have been, when I got tired of it, more inclined to quit. Them saying no, in my personality, I was going to prove them wrong. So I saved up my own money. I went out and bought my own guitar. It wasn't anything fancy or special. It was just a cheap acoustic 6-string guitar. I bought myself a book because back in those days we didn't have YouTube for everything. And I taught myself how to play guitar by myself in my living room, just cross-legged in front of that book and practicing my strumming, practicing my fingers, and just practice, and all on my own, prove to myself that I could do it if I wanted it bad enough. And I shared that with my son when we were having a chat. And I said, you can quit. I am not going to force you into anything, but I said, I at least want you to really think about your decision before you make it. And I gave him other examples from my own life. I said, like, look at my podcast. I thought about quitting it. And yes, there are times, like last week, when my life was too busy that things got carried away, and maybe I can't release an episode every week like I want to. But when I do have time, like today, I happen to have a day off, I come and sit in front of the computer and I talk to you guys. You know, there's lots of things in life we start, and there comes a time when it's not romantic anymore. There's work involved to having a show and podcasting on a weekly basis, or podcasting on any sort of schedule. You have to put the time and effort in. Thinking about what you're going to talk about next week or the next couple of weeks. There's always the next thing. It's something that's constant. And like sports, I said, you were the one that came to me and said you wanted to do sports. This wasn't something that I pushed on you. So I said I would like to see you follow it through to its end, because it's really only a few more games, and then you'll be done. And then you can say you stuck it out from beginning to end. And you were committed to it. That shows that you were disciplined to stick it out even though you didn't want to. So he had 2 tournaments that he did. So he went to the first one, and they didn't win a single game, and he was very disappointed. And I said, well, you are playing with kids that are a lot older than you. And I said, it's just go to have fun. Don't go to win. Just go to have fun and improve your own skills. Then a couple days later, or a week later, or whatever it was, he had his last tournament. And we drove into town. It was a bit of a drive in. And he played his game. He almost won. They were so close to winning one game. And then the next game they played, they lost that one, and he was discouraged. And the very last game, I said, don't quit on your partner. I said, even if they play till 21. So whoever gets the 21 points first wins the game. So I said, even if it's 15-3 and you only have 3 points and they have 15 and it doesn't look like you're going to win, I say play your absolute best, play your hardest. Don't give up until the game is over. And his very last game of his very last tournament, they won. And I'm kind of tearing up just thinking about it, because I was so incredibly happy for him. And on the way home, I said, Levi, aren't you glad you stuck it out? And he kind of shrugged, and I was like, you wouldn't have won a game if you would have quit. And he just kind of smiled, and yeah. And I think he was quite happy that he didn't give up when he felt like he wanted to. Have you ever been through something like that? I think to some degree we all have, in some shape or form or another, where we started something and really wanted to quit. It maybe wasn't spread over weeks. It maybe was throughout the day. You set out to do something, and then halfway through you really just lose the passion. And that's the lesson that I would like all of us to take from this, is when we set out to do something, or when we commit to something, whatever endeavors that you have, maybe you're a podcaster like me, maybe you're in badminton or a sport, or you're learning how to play the piano or guitar, whatever it may be. Passion fades, emotions rise and fall, but let's not let our emotions just dictate our decisions and our actions. That leads right into the challenge of the week, which is just that. When passion fades, keep pressing on, and emotions will ebb and flow. You'll have good days, you'll have bad days, but stay committed to whatever it was that you decided to start in the first place, because you started it in the first place because you wanted it for some reason or another. And remind yourself of why you wanted to start in the first place. My son wanted to start in the first place because he loves sports. His love of sports, his passion for sports. We'll have days where we want to quit. That's not what's at question. What's at question is, do we let that emotion decide? And the second half of the challenge, which you guys all know, to quote my dear friend JJ down in Maine, is to please pause. Take a moment, take a step back when you're thinking of quitting something, to think about it. Step away from your emotions, take them out of it. Love yourself. Love yourself enough to not quit on yourself or your teammates, if that would be the case, and to be aware of your ripple. We all have a ripple in life, and let's make that a positive one. All right, well, that is a wrap for this week's episode. I am so happy that you are here with me this week. I have a lot going on in my life in the background right now, and I'm excited to share with you guys what it is soon in the future. I will, once everything is done and wrapped up in a nice bow, I will definitely let you guys in on what's been going on in my neck of the world that has me so incredibly busy. All right, well, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for some timeless truths coming up soon. All right, take care, guys. Love y'all.